This video series will examine the anarchist ideas of Mikhail Bakunin. Despite having often been reviled, distorted or ignored since, these ideas were a huge influence upon the 19th century socialist movement. On watching this video series, I hope that it will become apparent that Bakunin has a lot to offer us today, that his ideas make up a coherent and well-argued body of thought and show that there is good reason for him to be described as the grandfather of modern anarchism. Bakunin held some views that are rightly rejected in the modern anarchist scene, such as the left-wing Slavic nationalism of his youth and the anti-Semitism he carried through his whole life. But we can simultaneously criticise those negative aspects of his character while still drawing upon those ideas which do stand up to scrutiny. In this first video of the video series, I'm going to be looking at Bakunin's ideas concerning class. Bakunin saw revolution in terms of the overthrow of one oppressing class by another oppressed class, and the destruction of political power as expressed as the state and social hierarchy. According to Bakunin, society is divided into two main classes which are fundamentally opposed to each other. The oppressed class he variously describes as commoners, the people, the masses, or the workers. This class makes up a great majority of the population. Under usual conditions, it is not conscious of itself as a class, though it has an instinct for revolt, and while unorganised is full of vitality. The numerically much smaller oppressing class, however, is conscious of its role and maintains its ascendancy by acting in a purposeful, concerted and united manner. The basic differences between the two classes, Bakunin maintained, rest upon the ownership and control of property, which is disproportionately in the hands of the minority class of capitalists. The masses, on the other hand, have little to call their own beyond their ability to work. He correctly identifies that wealth is generated by working people, but that we are denied the fruits of our labour. Quote, "Since labour, which is the production of wealth, is collective, wouldn't it seem logical that the enjoyment of this wealth should also be collective?" End quote. Bakunin was astute enough to understand that the differences between the two main classes are not always clear-cut. He pointed out that it is not possible to draw a hard line between the two classes, though, as in most things, the differences are most apparent at the extremes. Between these extremes of wealth and power, there is a hierarchy of social strata which can be assessed according to the degree to which they exploit each other or are exploited themselves. The further away a given group is from the workers, the more likely it is to be part of the exploiting category, and the less it suffers from exploitation. Between the two major classes, there is a middle class or middle classes who are both exploiting and exploited depending on their position of social hierarchy. Bakunin considered both urban and rural workers together as the masses who are the most exploited and who form, in Bakunin's view, the great revolutionary class which alone can sweep away the present economic system. Unfortunately, the fact of exploitation and its resultant poverty are in themselves no guarantee of revolution. Extreme poverty is, Bakunin thought, likely to lead to resignation if the people can see no possible alternative to the existing order. Perhaps if driven to great depths of despair, the poor will rise up in revolt. Revolts, however, tend to be local and therefore easy to put down. In Bakunin's view, three conditions are necessary to bring about popular revolution. They are: 1. Sheer hatred for the conditions in which the masses find themselves; 2. The belief that change is a possible alternative; and 3. A clear vision of the society that has to be made to bring about human emancipation. Without these three factors being present, plus a united and efficient self-organisation, no liberation can possibly come from a revolution. Bakunin had no doubts that revolution must necessarily involve destruction to create the basis of the new society. He stated that quite simply, revolution means nothing less than war, that is, the physical destruction of people and property. Spontaneous revolutions involve often the vast destruction of property. Bakunin noted that when circumstances demanded it, the workers would destroy even their own houses, which more often than not do not belong to them. The negative, destructive urge is absolutely necessary, he argued, to sweep away the past. Destruction is closely linked with construction, since the, quote, more vividly the future is visualized, the more powerful is the force of destruction, end quote. Given the close relationship between the concentration of wealth and power in capitalist societies, it is not surprising that Bakunin considered economic questions to be of paramount importance. It is in the context of the struggle between labour and capital that Bakunin gave great significance to strikes by workers. Strikes, he believed, have a number of important functions in the struggle against capitalism. They are necessary as catalysts to wrench the workers away from their ready acceptance of capitalism. They jolt them out of their condition of resignation. Strikes, as a form of economic and political warfare, require unity to succeed, thus welding the workers together. During strikes, there is a polarisation between employers and workers. This makes the workers more receptive to the revolutionary propaganda and destroys the urge to compromise and seek deals. Bakunin thought that as the struggle between labour and capital increases, so will the intensity and number of strikes. The ultimate strike is the general strike, a revolutionary general strike in which class-conscious workers are infused with anarchist ideas, will lead, Bakunin thought, to the final explosion which will bring about anarchist society. Quote, strikes awaken in the masses of people all the socialist revolutionary instincts that reside deep in the heart of every worker. And when those instincts stirred by the economic struggle are awakened in the masses of workers who are arising from their own slumber, then the propagation of the socialist revolutionary idea becomes quite easy. End quote. Bakunin's ideas are revolutionary in the fullest sense, being concerned with the destruction of economic exploitation and social and political domination, and their replacement by a system of social organisation which is based upon solidarity and mutual aid. Bakunin offered a critique of capitalism in which authority and economic inequality went hand in hand, and a critique of state socialism, which is one-sided in its concentration of economic factors while grossly underestimating the dangers of social authority.